I spent $510,798.32 marketing my wholesale company in 2024, and I'm going to share with you my 5 lessons that I learned so that you don't have to, or if you do, you maximize it and make a lot more money than I did. Okay, so let's go ahead and dive in because I want to give you the exact numbers. I did direct mail, PPL, which is pay per lead, big data cold calling, SMS, foreclosure acquisitions, foreclosure cold calling, Facebook ads, referrals, and website. I'm going to break down each of you. So you guys should have a chart like this. This is super important. Lesson number 1 is track everything better so that you can have a better understanding of your ROI, how much you guys are spending on your marketing, what it's going to, how many leads you're getting, so that you know which platform is performing the best for you. So I'm going to go through each of these because each of these lessons are going to lead into each one. So number 1, track your ROIs. I have a spreadsheet version of this that I'm going to go ahead and put down below in the description so that you can grab this, so that you could be able to use this heading into 2025, so that you can make sure you have your numbers dialed in. So I'm going to go through each of these. So for instance, direct mail, I spent $84,997 on. I used DM Force, Direct Mail Force, which is right out of San Diego. Really great people. They know what they're talking about. And so 346 leads, that's what that got me. I had 54 qualified leads from that. Now we're going to talk about this percentage. We're going to talk about all that because that's only a 15% conversion rate. This will also honestly lead into number 2 for me, which is have a solid sales process. For me, these numbers broke up for me. So I'm going to go ahead and dive into all these. So I got 92 here with 15 qualified leads there. 1,442 here with only 168 converted there. And so what I call a qualified lead is somebody that says, hey, I'm interested. Yes, let's continue to have the conversation. And we had the opportunity to close them. So like we actually had an opportunity to make an offer and close them. That's what I categorize as that. And so you guys can define your own way on what a qualified lead is. Some people will say, if it gets me to an appointment, that is a qualified lead. For us, that's not necessarily the case. We like to make sure if we can at least get an offer on them, so that goes in the phone or in person, that is what equals a qualified lead for us. Now, it's super important to know the exact number of leads you got, how many of those led to qualified leads, and then how many of those led to contracts. Now, this is where I say our sales process was broken. You really, really want to define in on your sales process because you can have all the best leads in the world. Honestly, like you can spend a ton of money on inbound leads, but unless you can close them, you have good people trained up, you have good people to take those calls, dial those calls in and be able to have that conversation with them and then end up being able to close them. You could spend all the money in the world and not have a good ROI. These are horrible numbers. I think the top one for me here was 29%. 29.38% with Facebook ads, but that's only because that was towards the end of the year when I started having better team and just kind of switching up our model. But I would say this whole entire thing was not great for me last year, but it's because of me. I kind of let the foot off the gas because this performed at 15%. And I want to give you guys just some metrics, and we'll talk about this in just a minute, but like this is at 16.30%. So far this year in 2025, I've been running ads. I've been doing PPL for about, what is this, 11 days now, and we are converting this at 60%. That's how it should be when you are absolutely dialed in. So these inbound leads should be significantly better. So that actually goes towards, and if you look at big data, cold calling, SMS, these are our outbound sources where you can see we got a ton of outbound leads, but not many of those converted. This is at like 5%, and this is at like 5% right here. Oh, that's at 11.6% right here. And these honestly didn't convert well because outbound messaging just doesn't convert well. Honestly, if we're just being straight honest with you, we are going and talking to people, and a lot of times with regulation, that money isn't actually getting out to where you want it to go. It's getting stopped, or there's people that feel harassed, or you have a much higher chance of getting sued or getting some sort of like legal notice because you are sending SMS or cold calling. And what's really interesting is people go, SMS and cold calling is cheaper. That's why I want to do it. No, it's not necessarily cheaper. What's cheaper is the cost per lead. So I'm gonna go ahead and just put in all the cost per leads right here so you can see how much my average cost per lead was. This is the amount that it cost me to get per lead per source. So if we're going direct mail, it cost me about $245.60 per lead that I got in with that marketing source. Now, direct mail is really good to have people outsource if you don't have the time to do it. This year, I'm actually going to look into having myself do my own direct mail where we're going to pull our data, we're going to actually send that information in, and I think it's going to be significantly less. Around last year, I think we were paying like $1.06 per mailer, but I have a lot of friends who are doing it themselves and they're paying about 55 cents per mailer, seeing the same results. So if you want to put in the work, you could totally do that. PPL, we found that the best PPL service is Property Leads. I'm not sponsored by them, but I do have a link down below. If you go down, click that link below, you can actually get $250 towards your first lead, which is great. Where you can see my first lead cost me $265 last year. This year so far, it's at around $160. So theoretically, $250 could get you 2 leads because depending on your market, the leads start at $125. Big data cold calling, this actually costs us $59.73 per lead, which is nice, except we only converted at an 11.6% rate. Now, when it comes to this, I actually can say there's a couple things. You want to make sure you have good callers. You want to make sure you have good inbound people. I actually would highly consider not having a VA lead manager anymore. I'm really like, okay, I'll have somebody stateside that would be my lead manager. I think that's going to convert to a ton more opportunities for appointments and a lot more trust just living where I live in the South, just by nature of what it is. Unfortunately, Enzo Dialer is the best dialer that I've found, period, in this. So Enzo Dialer, you can find a link to that in the description as well. That's fantastic. SMS, we went away from launch control this year and used Smarter Contact, which was really good. Definitely better for that. You can actually get a link for that down below. This was, I mean, Smarter Contact was by far the best change that we made as far as any sort of like texting platform or any kind of platform that we switched to. But we saw $70.88 per lead on that, but that only converted at 5% just because you're going to have a lot more tire kickers. And so outbound marketing wasn't the best. So this actually leads to my third point here is inbound marketing is way better than outbound marketing. Because the common misconception is, oh, I'm spending more on outbound marketing because it just feels like more upfront. But actually, when you factor in the price of the data, the price of skip tracing, the price of your platform, the price of your VA, you can actually tell that it came to about the same price as all my other stuff that I use. I spent $86,000 and $82,000 in the spreadsheet that I do have below. Really, it has a box over to the side. That's awesome. Once you actually look into that box and put your info in there, it will actually allocate it for you correctly. So it really helps you to understand what you are truly spending on your marketing sources. Our foreclosure acquisitions, this was the highest spent. We spent $123,653 on that, but that actually includes salaries for my foreclosure specialists here. And so my average lead cost me $204 per lead, just putting in that cost. But you can see that that converted at a pretty decent level, still 12%. But the difference here is these are highly motivated people. They have a huge amount of motivation because they are in foreclosure. And so we closed more of these than anything else. And then you have here my foreclosure cold calling. The difference here is these people are only cold calling foreclosure data, and these people are only cold calling big data, which is the high equity, absentee owner, all that stuff. This helps us right here because like this just hones in, and this is our county data that they're calling. And so they got us 754 leads and 167 of those converted. So that's 22%. So we definitely are going to keep this in here and start really shoveling and refining this process because this is probably the only outbound lead source we are going to keep is cold calling foreclosures. And then for Facebook ads, we did Lead Kitchen, which was amazing, way better than I thought it was going to be. This converted at 30% for us, which was our best. And then we could have been significantly better. So I'll be turning that on here in the next couple of weeks. And so I can actually probably do an update video for you guys on that. Now, what you guys want to know, the contracts. How many contracts did each of these sources give us? So I'm going to go ahead and put that information in here. All right, so when it comes to direct mail, we got 8 contracts here. PPL got 4. Now, what's really interesting is this is all part of the sales process I was talking to you about. And so this leads into number 4 and number 5, honestly, for me. Number 4 was hire slow, fire fast. I mean, you've probably heard that a lot, but honestly, in a sales team, you can't leave people that aren't going to be really good for you in those positions because what ends up happening is it's costing you quality leads. The more I left bad people in that were handling these quality leads, the less contracts I got, the less opportunity for my really good people to be able to handle those. So it's very, very important for you to have the right people in the right seat. It's okay. It's a sales position, especially all of ours, where some of them are salary, but most of them were commission only. It's okay to let them go, put them on 90-day trial periods, and let them know, hey, this was the performance that we saw. This may not be the best fit, and that's okay, because ultimately you're going to be putting money, no matter how you cut it. You think you're not spending as much money because you're cold calling and texting. You're still spending money on the data and the software and all that stuff, and you're putting that into these people. And so then you have to run the idea of, like, I read this book called Building an Elite Organization, and it talks about what's your price, what's your profit per person. You want to dial in and get as efficient as possible, because you have some people that you can run an initial analysis on and say, whoa, that is not a very profitable person just by their sales role. And so you want to make sure you have really profitable people in your roles, because then that will turn into more contracts for you guys. So of course, foreclosure acquisitions was the most contract that we got, with 23 of those. But we really dove into all of these. So this is about 69 contracts right here. So we ended last year with 69 contracts. We did have some from referrals. We had 4 from referrals, and those are stuff that we kept. So that was a lot of properties that we bought and we held. I just want to go through the wholesale stuff right here. But for instance, this was really, really important for us to know. I was like, because now I'm like, okay, big data cold calling did lead the most contracts, but it also had the most qualified lead. So really, at the end of the day, we didn't convert as well, because theoretically, that's tripled this number right here. And this would have got us almost double the amount of contracts if we would have done that correctly. So was not the best source for us, and that is what it is. Now, a lot of these led into the next year because we started some of these marketing sources at the end of the year. So these closings are pushing into this year. So we'll see a lot of these closings this year. But here's what we closed for each of those. So you can see that our closings here, we only closed 2 of those, so that's only about 25%, 25%, 10%. Gosh, what is that? That's 15%. And then we did close over half, a little bit, almost half of these. We closed the majority of those, and we haven't closed any of those yet. Now we do have 27 closings, or 24 properties that we currently hold and are closing. So you can see that a lot of these closings went into those. Either we held them or we are closing them this year, because we started the marketing side of it towards the end of the year last year. But you could see that they didn't convert super well too, because of our sales process, lack of communication. Honestly, I had a lot of virtual assistant sales people in these roles, which I think really played a huge factor to them not converting, which sucked for us. But now I've dialed it in, I've dialed our processes in, because it is significantly different. I'm going to go ahead and fill in what the revenue was for these, so that you guys can see, like, what do we actually make from these. All right, you can see the numbers here, and you can see the numbers probably look a little bit bleak for some of these. So for instance, PPL, big data cold calling, SMS, and then even our Facebook ads so far haven't gotten us much at all. But if you look here, you can see that we did get contracts, and in those contracts, we are closing some of those this year, or we held those, so they didn't make us any money. Now, I will say PPL this year, we've already got, in the first 11 days of the month, we've already got about 4 that are going to be under contract. One of them is a 70K rip. One of them is 30 for sure. The other one is, I think, just like 7,500. But like, we already are way above that average for this year. So it's fantastic, because like, then I can actually check where I am on this process. And this is the important part for you guys to know, like, what's your ROI on this? What's your return on this? So you would take that number, you would divide it by this number, and you'd say, what did I earn from this marketing source? And then you can know what you want to turn on and what you want to turn off. So for me this year, I'm going to be doing a lot more inbound marketing and really no outbound. I'm actually turning off big data cold calling and SMS. Let go all of our cold callers except for our foreclosure cold callers. And then really, I'm not going to really do any SMS, because it still costs me for that platform. Now, if I am going to get data for for direct mail, I might as well have somebody do my SMS. But really, I honestly don't want to have another VA to do that, or have to pay $1,200 a month for that service. So I'm just not quite sure yet what I'm going to do with that, because then even if I have direct mail here, I don't need to skip trace those. All I need to do really is get the best data to be able to send mail to. I'm going to double down on Facebook ads. I'm actually going to add PPC, which is pay per click, which is another marketing source. We're going to use PPC Force, which is the very same company as DM Force for that, or Bateman Collective, 2 really fantastic companies that you guys should check out. And for PPL, I'm going to do property leads and try out Lead Zolo. Now, the biggest thing that you want to do, this goes into my lesson 5, is you want to optimize your team. You want everybody to get 1% better. Make sure that you guys are growing, learning, changing, and then continually training each other, so that you can really, really these leads to qualify leads to contract, because it's really important to know where your biggest hang up here is, so that I know, okay, for me, this is the part of the process that I need to focus on in 2025. And then next, I definitely need to go to here. But also, I'm getting really poor closing ratios because our process in between getting it under contract and getting it sold, or even just the transaction coordination process, was really broken there. So you guys want to have these numbers. If you want this spreadsheet, make sure that you go down below, download it from this. This will change your business forever and help you to understand where you should be putting your money, where you shouldn't be putting your money, where you're losing money at, and then what you're doing better at, so that you can put more money into that, so that you can run into 2025 and be super optimized, understand exactly what you guys are doing, and dial it in. So I'm really excited for you guys. If you guys need anything or have any questions on this, please let me know. Very happy for you guys to help. Tag down below for all the links of all the different things that you could do and just absolutely get for free, because we love to be able to give you those things. So thank you so much for checking this out. I hope that this helps you to make 2025 your best year ever with wholesaling. It's already going to be my best year ever, just because we've dialed in this part so much this year, so much that in the first 11 days, we've already got 4 contracts, and we've already converted at a significantly higher level, which was really good. So thank you guys so much for being here. I appreciate you. I hope that you guys absolutely crushed it at 2024. Let me know if you need anything. But as I always say, to great success and greater impact. Peace.